Okay, you can go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Okay, at this time, I believe all the members are in attendance, so we can start with the call order, a roll call at this time.
Alderperson Vitale,
Here,
Grisham,
Here.
Ranky,
Here.
Rote,
Here.
Stefanski,
Here.
5 present.
so we all here, so we can move on with item 52 or 53 and of course 54, but let's start with 52 first.
I believe Mr. Buss is on the line.
Okay,
I'm right here.
good. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, sir?
So, are you, I mean, you've been in business prior of this establishment, or you've been there already for a while?
So I worked for Charlie, who owned the previous bar in the space. I worked for him briefly just to learn his space and learn the environment there. But I've been in the bar business for nearly 16 years, and I've general managed and assistant managed for about half of that.
Yeah. Have you been operating or doing business in West Dallas prior of this application on 6201 West Mitchell?
Working for Charlie briefly as a bartender, and approximately 8 or 9 years ago, I worked for Scott Bunker at Classic Bunkers on Greenfield, which is now Double B's.
Okay. So I'm sure you're very familiar with the questions of how to run a bar then, right? I mean, you're very familiar with that, right?
I feel very familiar. Yes, sir.
So, I mean, it's something that's not something new that after 2 months or so, you're going to be in front of us. You know, I don't think you're looking for that, right?
Do not anticipate that. No, sir. I've worked in quite a few different environments, and I think I have a very good understanding.
So at this time, I'd like to ask some of the license and health.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Rote.
Yes, go ahead.
For some reason, I can't picture 6201 West Mitchell. Could you, what are you taking over?
It was formerly Charlie O's. Are you familiar with 60th and Mitchell, where Buzzard's Nest exists?
Yes, I am. Yes. So it's a little west of there.
Correct.
Yeah,
2 blocks west and across the street. It's a
South-
fairly quiet.
Southeast corner. Southeast corner.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Buss. Will you have surveillance cameras in the establishment?
I will. I just had the package delivered to me 2 days ago, but it will be 8
Okay.
cameras set up with an internet system.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Rosalie,
Ranky?
along with that question, are you having security in the bar?
I won't have an official security service or team of any sort, but my entire staff is comprised of gentlemen approximately my size, bigger gentlemen who they'll be my closers. They'll be the ones who work the evening crowds, and they'll be able to take care of it themselves very well.
Okay, I see. You have 5 machines. What kind of machines will they be?
They're the video amusement machines.
The gambling machines?
I suppose, yeah. I was told that they were just amusement machines or video gaming machines.
Okay, I see. I noticed that you're opening at 8 o'clock. Is that a normal time for a bar usually to open? I know of only bars that open maybe about 10 o'clock. Was there a reason why you chose 8?
I'm sorry, 8 a.m. you're saying?
Yes.
That will be because my mother, who also was a 25-year bartender, she is going to be retiring out of the medical field, and she'll be coming and working with me. So we're going to be trying to go for that early morning crowd, and she'll be working the 8 to 3 p.m. shifts.
I see. Will you be serving food?
We have a packaged food license, so we will be doing frozen pizzas, garlic breads, hot pockets, and the health inspector told me that we could have an air fryer. So I'm hoping to perhaps have mozzarella sticks, cheese curds, and a few other non-meat frozen packaged items.
Excellent.
Any,
Thank
any,
you.
further- any further questions from the committee members?
Mr. Chair, I have one final question. Mr. Buss, in light of the fact that we are in a pandemic right now, what did you set up or do you have set up opening for PPE and other things? Did you put together the business plan for that with the health department as well?
When I spoke to the health department inspector, I suppose she was, Amy, she told me that there would be new information coming out soon and that I was not to really worry about submitting paperwork until the new West Dallas policies were implemented. But we did
Okay.
discuss how I will have hand sanitizers throughout, staff will be masked. We will be sanitizing everything on a regular basis. There will be bleach wipes. We will be using those on the machines when they get used. The
Will your
amusement
bu-
machine.
Will your bartenders be wearing masks?
Yes.
Okay. I have one question outside of that for Rebecca or whoever can answer this. I thought that we had a business plan put forth that all businesses had to fill out. Are we changing that with the health department?
Are you talking about the one related to the COVID?
Yes.
That
Mhm.
was a suggested plan that people were going to be filling out, not a required.
Okay, maybe I
But-
misunderstood. I thought it was, and there was a deadline to put that in. I could have been
But
mistaken.
it might, it's something you could consider with
Okay,
this application.
all right.
I'd be happy to do so. I was just explaining that new information would be coming soon and I should wait
Okay.
for that to really proceed.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Yeah, we do appreciate that, Benjamin, for you to address that by the concern about the older person, Christian, about that questions. I think it was very nice of you not to, avoid that question, and I appreciate you say you're willing to do that anyway, So if there's no more further questions, we need a motion of approval.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the emotion?
Aye.
Oppose? The eye have it. Good
Good
luck.
luck in business, Benjamin.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you
luck.
very
Benjamin.
much.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much. Okay, do I go to City Hall tomorrow to collect the liquor license?
You give us a call in the morning after 8:30 and we can help you in the clerk's office. Okay?
Very much.
Mhm.
Okay, very good.
Should I just log off now?
Yes, have a good night, Benjamin.
Thank you, you as well. All of you, have a great evening.
Thank you, you too.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
So
you, you as
now-
well.
Now we move on with item 53 and 54 in reference of this issue has been in front of us a few times already about the locations of 10535 West Greenfield Avenue, about Cinch, the agent, kitchen, that he wants to have restaurants at that location. So is he available just as well, Rebecca, or?
I believe he's on the call. Mr. Singh?
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
I would like to be able to speak before we go further, just to some of the backstory of what I was concerned about with this restaurant slash gas station. Although it has two separate addresses, I had gone in as Alderwoman Ranky had suggested to kind of take a look at it, and I was able to view it. I had the impression that it was already an up and running business. It is not. So applying for the liquor license was kind of ahead of even the business being open. I have concerns as well as called the fire building inspection, and they don't seem to be on board to this. Reason being is, although it's a separate addresses, there's 2 entrance doors which would pass fire just fine. I think what we had suggested, or somebody had suggested, is that they close off one of the third door, which would be going into the gas station. Well,
that would be a major one, you know.
right, but it
that-
cannot be, because guess what? There are no bathrooms in that restaurant. The only available bathrooms are in the gas station. So they would have to leave the restaurant to go into the gas station to have bathroom facilities. The only way I could see it is if they had actual separate bathrooms in there. Everything seems to kind of flow. One of the emergency exits would be to go through the kitchen, which then would go through a shared door in the back with the gas station. I just don't see that we'd issue 2 separate licenses for this at this juncture, unless something can be worked out. And as far as I know, building inspection, fire wasn't entirely on board with this either, especially with not having bathroom facilities, because there's no way we can have them close that door. And there's also, I think 2 or 3 gambling machines that are between the bathroom, the door, to get, you know, if you went from the gas station to get into the main hallway to the restaurant. So those are my biggest concerns. And as I said, it's not an up and running business right now. They'd have a lot of work ahead of them, in my opinion, before it can even be an operating restaurant, let alone having a liquor license in advance of it.
Yeah, you know, the fact stands that in a normal operating restaurants or any other business, I mean, and I totally agree. I mean, so they should provide, you know, their own bathroom. You know, again, I mean, we cannot just. To me, I mean, I always been kind of optimistic. The fact that you know, to have the door open from the gas station into the restaurant area, to me, is not a good thing. You know, I mean, if it was no liquor, then I mean it would be fine. But once you start serving liquor just as well, that's what I have a little concern just as well. And like I said, the fact that is that you have to have a bathroom, you know. So I mean, I feel sad about it, but I do agree with you. The fact that how can you really run a restaurant without? So if somebody else in the near future would come forward and says, "I'm opening a restaurant, but there's no bathrooms," well, how can you deviate from one application to the other? You know, and that's I totally agree on that. And I mean, I like I said, we'll see what the rest of the committee members determine about this. And I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay, I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed. And
think it
Mr.
was
Singh,
worth-
if you'd like to speak to that, if anybody has questions, feel free to direct them toward him. But those are my biggest concerns.
Any questions from the committee members before we have the gentleman?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
on the plus side, I appreciate that he completed the application the way it should have been completed to begin with. He did a nice job of completing it. I have the same concerns as Alderman Grisham, and I appreciate that she, in fact, went and saw the inside, because that was a questionable situation when I viewed it as well. There were a lot of machines. It was very crowded, and the machines were in front of the doors that basically led into the hallway, into the restaurant itself. Restaurant is very, very small, and I didn't ask to go inside the restaurant, and that's where I commend Alderperson Grisham, because bathrooms are very important in a restaurant, and they can't always go back into the service station for that purpose. To me, it's an ideal place for like a quick trip situation where they have like hot dogs heating up, and also a place to buy ice cream and other kinds of drinks. But for me, I can't see that it's an ideal I question how this could pass, as a restaurant, in that it didn't have the bathrooms. I'm sure that was years and years and years ago, but that's unheard of nowadays. As it is, I don't think, in light of that situation, I don't think that this is appropriate to give them the license that they are requesting at this time.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I may answer that for Alderwoman Ranky, it could be a restaurant with that door being accessible to bathrooms into the gas station. But with our suggestions of having that door locked, that's not possible. They would have to have toilets in the restaurant. So just for clarification, they could operate a restaurant and have bathrooms in the second building.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman Stefanski.
if we did that, I would have a problem then with issuing them a liquor license. I don't have a problem with them making it a restaurant, but adding liquor to it with a gas station attached to it, I can't go for that.
Besides the liquor, the question stands out now, again, with the fact that whether it's no liquor or if it's a restaurant, you're serving food, still, I mean, they should have a bathroom, should have a toilets, really. I mean,
I agree with that, but we're trying to separate the liquor. We're trying to separate the liquor from the gas station. Okay. If they choose not to have a liquor license and want to use it as selling food and things like that, that could be okay.
yes.
But when you put the liquor into it and us trying to keep it separate from a gas station, then that's where my issue is.
That's where the question comes in. So any further questions from the
Alderman Vitale wrote.
on the road? Yes.
My question is either to Rebecca Grill or Mr. Singh. Does the gas station not already currently have a B beer license? Anybody?
Yeah, he has a package liquor license, right?
Well, that's what I meant. So there's already one on that,
Yes.
at that premises, not that address, but that premises, that building.
Mr. Chair, Suzette Grisham here. I think we confirmed that in our last meeting that there is a beer license there.
Yes,
This
yeah.
was
Thank
an
you.
additional that they wanted for the restaurant as well as a wine license.
So now, would you like to have a Mr. Cinch come in front of us? I mean, and we can ask that questions, about the liquor license and based on the fact that there's no bathroom. If he gets a liquor license, I don't think he can have the operating restaurants just as well. If he wants a liquor, but if he wants just a restaurant, then it'd be fine. He can keep the door open then.
Right, Mr. Chair, to add on to that, I guess my question to Mr. Singh would be, if we're going to deny this liquor license based on having that door locked, and he wants to go forward with this restaurant, is putting in bathrooms possible? And if he did, I'd be more willing to say yes to that because it would definitely be a separate business.
Yes, totally. I
So,
agree.
Mr. Singh, that would be my question to you. Would you look at putting bathrooms in that restaurant?
Perhaps Rebecca should have to put him on, right?
He's on.
Yes.
Mr. Singh, can you hear?
Hi, Mr. Singh. I had a question. As it stands, because you have bathrooms in two separate, the opposite building that you want to put the restaurant in, based on discussion with our building inspection, fire, we would not be able to impose you to lock those doors. Right now, where we're at as a committee, I believe, is we're not going to look to issue you a liquor license unless you would have bathrooms in the restaurant itself. Then the adjacent door could be locked. Is this something that you proceed forward to open the business and put a bathroom or bathrooms in there?
But if I open as a restaurant, can I do that? And they can use the gas station restrooms?
No, as it stands, our building inspection as well as fire and our council is not willing to sign off on that because what the initial suggestion was that those doors would have to be locked, which would keep your businesses separate. Our worry, and I'll just for, transparency, is that you have that ability, to have both liquor licenses and also have the ability to sell out of both of the places, maybe, later than it should be. That's my concern. And there's also a concern of mine, and I talked to building inspection. I believe this was signed off 14 years ago or so. And what I was told that you were able to have only 5 parking spots. And on the application here, you have 14 spots. I was out there and I frequent your business as well, to get gas. And there's only 5 stalls in the front of your business.
No, actually, by our gas station, there is a bank. And we had 10 parking spot in the bank too.
So you have an agreement with the bank?
Yeah, that's how originally we own that space.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it is 15.
Okay. But to answer my question, would you be able to put bathroom facilities in the restaurant?
But right now it is very big, decision. I have to look into that. But is there any way I can open as a restaurant and down the road they can give me the permission and I will do later on, because right now I am thinking to carry out the, food.
Mhm.
So the person will come and they will pick up the food,
Well, absolutely. You're capable of moving forward with a restaurant. I'm sure that wouldn't be an issue, but you're before us for a liquor license. So at this time, it sounds like we have a consensus that that license would not be granted unless you have bathroom facilities. But as far as you
but the
opening a
restaurant, I
business,
can open it.
I'm sorry?
But restaurant, I can go ahead and open it, or
You'd have to go through the proper channels to open the restaurant. We're just here to establish whether we give you a liquor license or not.
Mr. Chair, just for clarity, we're only talking about the Class C wine and Class B beer license. I know we've discussed it as a liquor license, more as the general term for alcohol, but those are the 2 licenses we're considering, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. I spoke wrong.
Yes. So at this time, the only way we can move forward, if Mr. Singh will, a couple of months, whenever it is, he'll be able to put, bathroom facility to provide to his customers, then I think he can come back to us and believe we can work with him just as well. Nothing against him. So I hope he does really understand the reason. I mean, we have a ruling, for everybody else within the city. You open up any business, you do have to provide, facility, a bathroom, toilets for the man and the woman, just as well. So it's nothing against you. So if we give you this license, this liquor license, I mean, what really happened to our policy, our ruling that we have? So we cannot deviate, at this point, really. That's why I'm sad about it, because I thought myself there were bathrooms in there, but I do appreciate Alderperson Christian that she took the time to really check it out, what really happens, in that establishment, there is no bathroom to provide for the patrons. The only way they can have the bathroom by going to the gas station. Well, then it defeats the purpose what we've been talking about it, that we don't need an entryway within 2 establishment, from a gas station to a place where it's going to provide food, and then it's going to provide liquor just as well. So that's that's our job. That's why we have this job, that we have to be cautious what we're doing, you know. Nothing against you, Mr. Singh. It's not the issue here. It's not the issue at all. Because I was kind of, you know, initially in favors of for you to get your operations of the restaurant. I mean, which you can have it at this time, but you cannot have really the liquor license at this time. So in the future, if you are willing to invest additional money, you know, to the place, and then I believe you can come back to us, and I think the committee members will be willing to approve the liquor license for you, you know. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes, go ahead.
in light of all the information that we offered, can we take a look at our timing here and maybe go to vote?
Yes,
If there's no further discussion, that is.
yeah, like I said, is any further discussions from the committee members? So if there's no further discussions, I need an emotion of denial at this time.
So
for the,
moved.
Second,
all in favors of the denial?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Singh.
The
Was
ayes
that
have
for,
it.
thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you again for
Thank
being.
you so much.
was that for both of them, 52 and 53 or 50?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's for
Thank
both
you.
of them, yes. So,
53 and 54.
Yes.
yeah, that's what we did. So again, now we, I would like to ask, with an item 23, I believe we can take that one, Rebecca, right?
Sure,
Item- Item
whatever
20
you prefer.
Yeah, let's take care of item 23.
Move to approve.
I think we don't make motions because it's on the consent agenda, right? Is this just for discussion?
Any discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
wrote. How long is this gonna last? Is there gonna be a sunset on this? Is this when the city officially declares the pandemic over? How long does this last?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's
Mr.
gonna
Chair.
last until we go back to a normal life, you know, I mean,
Well, that's my question. Is there an
Mr. Chair.
actual,
yes, Rebecca, go ahead.
For this specific ordinance, there's no end date. The previous one had a sunset clause. This one does not. So in order for you to change it, you would have to have an ordinance to eliminate this in the future whenever you would want to do that.
Could always take that up then, correct?
I'm sorry?
I said we could always take that up then, correct?
Just like with any other, if policy change, yes.
We can't really set a date because we don't know when the crisis will be over.
Right.
So we can leave it just as it is, you know, and then in the future, if there's some determinations or make some changes, we can just discuss it, or, you know, whatever it needs to be done, you know. So
You don't have a second. Yeah.
you,
We don't need it. It's just for discussion because it's on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
yes,
Rebecca, is that the way we're doing it now? I've not been at some of the meetings with common council. This isn't a voting item at this point?
Correct, because a lot of these haven't been introduced to the council, so you can't act on them.
Okay.
So they generally are getting a consensus, and then when they go to council, if if the consensus was to grant or approve, it just stays on the consent agenda. But in the case of Mr. Singh, someone will have to make a motion to remove his items from the consent agenda and consider them separately.
In that process, then, is the committee able to parse out certain names on number 49, or is that all or nothing on that one as well?
I'm ready to work with the committee to get that done.
All right.
item,
So am I supposed to withdraw the motion then, sir?
I believe that would be how that's going currently, yes.
Okay. I move to withdraw the motion.
all right.
Mr. Chair, then I believe that I'd have to remove my motion as well on 53,
Okay, good.
52 and 53.
Yes. Okay, great.
Oh,
So
no, I'm sorry, that's 53 and 54.
50,
54, yeah.
54.
And I'll remove my second.
All right. Then I believe we can move.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
could we, and this question would be geared towards Attorney Sherwin and Rebecca Grill. Item 33 tonight, resolution to extend the emergency declaration in the city due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Couldn't we tie all this in with that? Or am I misreading that?
Which item?
Item 33.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
the committee could certainly work to amend the ordinance and include a sunset clause where it would expire at the same time as the emergency declaration, which I believe is July 13th or 14th. I can't remember off the top of my head right
21,
now.
right? I mean,
21? Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that would be up to the committee and the council if you want to amend that ordinance to include that
Mr. Chair,
clause.
yes,
just because I was originally
yeah.
part of the drafting of that first ordinance, that I could shed some light on it. The original sunset clause, this is for serving intoxicating liquor in sealed containers for carryout from a bar. The original sunset is actually already linked to the emergency declaration. So if the council does extend that emergency declaration tonight into 2021, then this ordinance actually would continue to extend. The issue is that the declaration was scheduled to end tonight, and that's why it's important for the council to understand if you want, you could make it a permanent thing by enacting this ordinance, or you could extend it to the date that the council would pick if they choose to extend the emergency declaration. So this thing is linked up to that emergency ruling right now, if you want it to be. The ordinance would unlink the two and make this a permanent part of the ordinances, which would require then a majority vote on a later date to repeal it. Probably more
Thank you.
complicated than it needs to be, but hopefully that
I know.
was
So
Thank you,
from a
Kim.
first, Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
from a procedural standpoint, then, if they don't want it to go on past the declaration, they would not approve this ordinance, correct?
Right.
And just allow the other, was it an ordinance to continue?
So there's a resolution to continue
Okay.
the emergency declaration. I
Correct.
think it's scheduled for June or so. So if that passes, then this continues. If that doesn't pass, then the emergency is done and the service of intoxicating liquor for carryout by bars is also done.
I do believe, and I appreciate that, Gail. I do totally believe, I think we should continue to extend the emergency declarations at this time until the, I believe it's July, 2021. I mean, again, if the council really feels strong about to be repealed, I believe at any time, right? Is that correct? The council could just repeal that, right?
Correct. Like any ordinance, it would take a majority vote to repeal it on a later date. Basically, the difference now is if the council takes no action and doesn't enact anything, then the emergency is done, and so is the service of sealed containers of liquor in bars. Both of those are done if no action is taken tonight. If the council just extends the emergency, then the emergency declaration continues into next year, as does the service of the intoxicating liquor bottles. And if the council enacts this ordinance that's before it right now, that unlinks those two, and instead, it doesn't matter what happens with the emergency. The ordinance that has existed for about 9 months will continue to exist into the future unless the council on a later date takes action to repeal it.
Kayla, should we put this on file then? This
Depends on
ordinance?
well, right now you're not taking votes because this is a committee level for discussion only, but my recommendation would be at the council level to, if you want to discuss it, pull this item and pull the emergency resolution item, and you could discuss those together after the consent agenda is passed.
All right, thank you.
So at this time, we don't need no emotion from the License and Health Committee members, right, Kel?
No,
Correct.
Okay, good. So then we can move on with, I believe, let me see here. Yeah, we have, I mean, 48 to expedite the temporary extension. I mean, that's the same thing, right? Rebecca? Item 48.
Item
48.
48.
There is no
Are you
48.
talking, we're not, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
that item is not on the License and Health Committee agenda. That's on the Common Council agenda. So
okay.
that's already moving forward.
Yes,
With
before,
the
right?
dates, you probably want to go to item number 62, where you're talking about food trucks near restaurants.
Yes. Yeah, we can go to the new matter for introduction. That's item 62, ordinance to increase prohibited parking area for food and truck near restaurant. So I believe we have some updates, so we have some information about it. And so I see that as 250 feet, 500 feet. Well, I mean, so I don't know what's the consensus of the committee, if everybody looks
Mr.
at.
Chairman?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Who? There was a whole bunch of Mr. Chairs.
Well, Mr. Chair, okay, I'll let you, you're the senior guy, so. Well, I'm not, I'm just
Age
kidding.
before beauty.
You're right.
Okay. Thank you, Uncle Vince. I talked to quite a few, not quite a few, but a few restaurant owners in the past couple of days, and they sure would like to see this 100-foot radius increased. One of the analogies was, one of the owners said, if I'm going fishing and the fish aren't biting where I'm at, I can't decide to move my boat over there. I'm planted right here. I don't have a trailer hitch that I can move my restaurant to another location. Personally, I'd like to see it at 500, but I don't think that'll happen. 300 is what we see at the farmer's market, which is livable, doable, but they're not overly excited about having food trucks in front of their buildings or within even 300 feet of their buildings. One example was brought up to me today about the 84th and Lincoln site, the El Toro, that is too close to a school. Well, that's almost a unique place because he actually owns the property that he's got his truck parked on. He's not parked out on 84th and Lincoln. He's parked on a piece of land that he owns. I mean, I'm even willing to make an exception to that. I don't know how far Central High School is to that El Toro truck, but I'm just in favor of increasing the footage, the lineal footage.
Would you
Thank
be
you.
willing to go to 50? I mean, you know,
Mr. Chair,
yes, go ahead.
I think we should, if the space, the amount of space is good enough for the farmer's market at 300 feet, I think it should be 300 feet in front of brick and mortar buildings too.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Alderwoman Grisham,
Yes.
I actually am in favor of keeping it at the 100 feet. I wanted to thank Patrick and everyone who worked together to get this mapping because it really puts a visual together. I have had no one reach out to me that there's an infringement on their business or concerns. I've had discussions. Somebody pointed out, and I just need to use this analogy. How would I feel if a haircut truck was parked in front of my business? And after 16 years in business, I can tell you, my clients come to me. They're going to continue to. When I want food, sometimes I like a little variety. Maybe that will, like in our paperwork, create more business for other restaurants. It gives a destination. You don't want a food truck out, on the far end of the city when we're trying to establish new business here. We're a lot of these, and you all saw the report on it, are businesses that are active in and have brick and mortar here. So it wouldn't make sense that they're going to park their own truck in front of their business, although some of them do probably with COVID to expand that cash flow. But I'm not in favor of keeping more distance. We're really kind of a progressive city that has become a destination for restaurants. And I think this is something that we're just beginning to tap into. So putting this together and more distance, I think hurt business more than it will help business. And I'm sure I have more to say, but I'm not going to eat up all the time. I'm just letting you know that I'm not in favor of changing it from the 100.
I could, Mr. Chair, if you.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Vitale. And I think I just wanted to recognize you, if you want to recognize Patrick Schloss is on this meeting as well, and he's been doing some research, but I have a lot of problems with this. I'll run through a few of them quickly if you'll give me the liberty. One is, and feel free to cut me off if you don't want to give me the liberty, but we have several proposals right now.
No way.
We have several economic development proposals right now in our community, millions of dollars of projects, and they include hosting food trucks as part of their business model. Another thing is, under normal times, we've had several incredibly popular food truck events at our farmers market, and our communications and events committee has a very good rapport with a lot of food trucks. And in the sense of entrepreneurship, a lot of these food trucks could be brick and mortar restaurants in the future. So if we're burning a bridge with them now, they're not going to want to look in West Dallas. And some of them are actively looking in West Dallas. Some of them are actually located in West Dallas after being participants in some of our events. Carrie's Krispies is a good example. They weren't technically a food truck, but they are now a brick and mortar here. As Alderperson Grisham said, we probably have 9 to 10, if not more, businesses in West Dallas that are using food trucks to supplement their income right now during this pandemic. And I think the last thing we want to do right now when businesses are struggling is try to throw more restrictions on our small business community. Those are my thoughts. I don't know if you want to, if you want to acknowledge Mr. Schloss, I think the development department put together a correspondence.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate Patrick, whatever you put together, really, to me, I mean, it made a lot of sense. I think it was a well take information that you provide to us,
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
First of all, thank you. It was a team effort. It's our planning department as well as IT. They took the data that was associated with the restaurants. So the mapping you see is both 100, 250, and 500 feet. The 100 feet seems like the most logical distance is that it keeps also the food trucks in a commercial type of zoning. If we get to 250 feet, we start getting into a lot more conflicts that end up putting food trucks near residential type uses. And the idea here is to get people into our commercial districts to support other businesses. And I believe that's happening. I mean, some of these food trucks have following social media accounts, and they track people to an area that necessarily is not having a lot of foot traffic at that time. So it's a positive. I recently actually did some field study, went out to did a food truck on 93rd and Greenfield, leaving Alderperson Grisham's district. Mm-hmm. And I looked around from that one, and it's an actual West Dallas business that's benefiting from that location. And it wouldn't be able to go there because it is within 300 feet of the new Alfonso's restaurant, Subway, etc. So I was looking where they would go. Then you look further down the block, you have Crawdaddy's. Mm-hmm. This is just one. The same one that's very popular is in front of Home Depot. Very common location where you see a food truck. Again, it would end up having in Alderperson Ranke's district, similar type of conflicts at even 300 feet. So using the 100-foot distance does allow businesses to explore the economic vitality of our neighborhoods. And there are businesses in West Dallas adding food trucks, and there are businesses using food trucks to start bricks and mortar locations. So it's a vice versa type of situation. The other day we met with a local bricks and mortar location with a number of business owners, and he's doing gangbusters as a business. And the first thing they suggested was getting a food truck. So the idea here is to provide every venue or avenue possible for our businesses, as the mayor said, during COVID, for them to be successful, as well as for people to use food trucks even during COVID here because of social distancing. It provides an avenue for people to get food and different types of food to try a market out, for example. So we gave a write-up as well as maps. I did send out revised maps that came from IT that were that offered further clarity. But again, the 100-foot distance, I was concerned as well with the alderperson about the bricks and mortar locations and food trucks. But after looking at the maps and then thinking about the planning perspective, it seems logical to keep it at 100 feet and some of our neighbors as well are at 100 feet. So it's pretty consistent.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
am in conversation right now with a business owner who brought this up, who cannot attend this meeting tonight. And I told him who is against this right now. And he said, ask Alderperson Grisham if she's cool with a mobile hair salon parking outside her salon. It's a bit different. Few lunch spots operate by appointment. My business next week isn't booked up like a hairstylist. So that's
Mr. Chair.
Like answered.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just being you mentioned me, Alderman Stefanski, I think we already had that discussion privately, you and I, as to how I would feel about that. In 16 years in business, and I don't want to go too off track, if there was a haircut truck that parked within 100 feet of my business, I'm confident that my base clientele are coming to me for me, not because they can get a quick cut from a truck. That's apples and oranges right now. What we're discussing is having a vibrant restaurant destination in the city. And basically, as Mayor Devine had said, it's taking away opportunities. As Patrick said, in development, it's taking away opportunities to create those brick and mortars, to expand what our strategic goal is. And that is to be a destination. So I think when we had that conversation, and just because you brought my salon up, those that have discussed this with you, I highly doubt a taco truck is going to veer anybody away from peanut butter jelly and deli, or if somebody was going to get double B's that, you know, they saw the other truck. I look at it as it gives opportunity for business. I'm not looking at, all too often, businesses are looking at fighting one another for the dollar rather than working together for the dollar. And I think that's what we're creating in our commercial districts. So to answer that question to the constituent who reached out to you, I wouldn't have an issue with it whatsoever. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Vanesky, go ahead.
He said, I can only have 25% customers in my business. Maybe real estate taxes, licenses, and fees should be reduced to 25%. He makes a good point. And my point is, what makes the farmer's market more special than a brick and mortar business, big brick and mortar business that's asking for some space like we give the farmer's market? And this business that I'm talking to right now is in yours and Angelito's district, Vince. The other business is in my district. It's Mark Lutz. And he's the one who contacted me today and reached out to me today. So just so you know, these are the two businesses that are concerned about this stuff that I've talked to.
Any further questions from the committee members or the mayor? Go ahead, Mayor.
I think Alderperson Ranky was trying to get your attention.
Yes,
Alderman.
I believe she did, yes.
Thank you, Mayor Devine. The food trucks have been well received at the night out, at the market. I have to commend, I mean, I don't think we've had any negative, except now it sounds like the business is our concern because they feel that the trucks are taken away from their business. Could somebody estimate how far the one on National and 115th is in front of Home Depot? Patrick, would you know the footage from
offhand, I don't know. I mean,
the business?
If you look at where it's placed, right now it's fine. But if you were going to look at any further distance, we're using the property lines, and it's close to. There's a Taco Bell. There's an Asian restaurant across the street.
Taco Bell. I was concerned.
And per the mapping that we provided, you can see that the boundaries do conflict, and it would not be able to be placed in front of Home Depot.
Yes.
So and that's actually a West Dallas business that parks there.
Yes, and it's well received. There are always lines at that particular location of that business. And so basically, I guess I'm relaying that compared to the footage of 250 or 350. It seemed 100 seems very adequate for these businesses to survive. And I can't see that it really is interfering with Taco Bell. I can't see that it's far enough away. And as you had alluded to, otherwise we would have these food trucks in a lot of residential areas, and that is not what we're looking for. Basically, these businesses, and I agree with the mayor and you as well, they're the startup. And eventually, I would hope that these businesses would rent a space and a building to further our business atmosphere. So I am totally for keeping it what it is at 100.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just have to say one more thing. And I guess this is a off the cuff comment, but how many hundreds of restaurants do we have in the city of West Allis, and opportunities for more coming in for brick and mortar? And I commend you, Alderman Stefanski, for supporting and being, having the voices of two of these businesses heard, but I don't see the reasoning behind changing an ordinance based on two constituents reaching out. And I'm just being honest. I mean, at this point, there has to be some common sense that leads to understand that there's an objective that we're working for on the strategic plan that we're following in the city. And I just think that gives a lot of weight to two businesses when maybe we need to look at this a little further and ask other businesses. I could call and say, okay, how many in my district to say I'm going to support this ordinance? I'm looking at the overall whole of the city, not just two businesses. And I think this would really damage the opportunity for growth in West Allis. So I just wanted to point that out. I appreciate you doing your due diligence for constituents, as I would too, and I do, but I wouldn't look at changing an ordinance because two people reached out. I think that's something to have a discussion about and maybe look at it, but not be rash and all of a sudden say, let's just change this.
Yeah, I do agree all the person, Christian.
Mr. Chair,
Right now, yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
maybe we
Yeah,
should,
go ahead.
then maybe we should change the ordinance around the farmer's market to be 100 feet, so it's equal to the brick and mortars.
That's something that you can look at
That's
and
just a thought.
propose.
that's up to like I said, to the committee members. But anyway, the mayor has something to say.
Mr. Chair, I just want to reiterate, again, this is something that is going to be putting a hindrance on new development because we've got at least two projects right now that are considering utilizing food trucks because putting in a kitchen is incredibly expensive. I'm gonna go into names because we're going into names. We've got a food truck at Double B's. We've got a food truck at Taqueria Buena Vista. We've got Firewise Barbecue, which could potentially be a brick and mortar someday. We have got Freeze's Candy, which uses their wagon out in the community. I mean, I could go on and on. The chef out at Natty Oaks has a food truck that is in the city of West Allis. The 100-foot rule we have is working. We're getting very few complaints. And I'm going to say it again, businesses are hurting right now, and to put more restrictions on small local businesses in this community is not a good idea.
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree what you said. We have right now actually about 12 federal permits, True Food restaurant. I believe we have 12, but I believe we got another one just on Lincoln Avenue by Mitchell Manor. So he usually got his permits, through the health department. And I don't see no complaints. And to me, I believe the 100 feet, I think, accommodates the
Chairman Vitale,
yes.
I would like to just say that I didn't wait for anybody to call me. I reached out to restaurants on my own, and the four that I talked to, and they're in the 4th district, didn't like the 100-foot rule. I just wonder if development reached out to any restaurants and ask them, how do you feel? Not, this is how we feel, here's the map. And I get what the mayor's saying about putting restrictions on business. I absolutely appreciate that, because I've done that with anything pandemic related. I've always voted in favor of, but I think we have to take a long look at this and maybe call some restaurants that are in your district, not just the 2 that were mentioned here today, but 2 that you drive by that, it's always the quiet guy that just, well, they're going to do it anyways. And I just, like I said, I called them, and out of the 4, none of them liked it. They would appreciate a greater radius.
Just for the record, Alderman, Mr. Chair, development did reach out to a few businesses and heard the feedback that Alderman Stefanski heard, and heard from the businesses that do operate food trucks too. So we've heard both sides of the side, as well as developers looking at adding food trucks to their type of layouts, because they know that this attracts tenants and other people to the community. So we're looking at it in a holistic way. As an issue, and I applaud you as well as for reaching out to businesses.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Schloss, and what were the responses from the restaurants that did not have the food trucks? I can't imagine them saying, yeah, 100 feet, that's great. I gotta bet that there's a different answer.
First, prior to the issue that came up, we've never had any complaint over the 100 feet. So other business, the ones that did complain of the 100 feet, thinking that it was too short, yes, that's why we did the review of the data and looked at the maps, just to analyze the situation. But when you look at the broader distance, it pushes the food trucks, and we want to keep food trucks in our city away from the commercial districts, and causes future conflict in other areas that aren't commercial. So it was best to keep it at 100 feet from a planning perspective.
We have to really realize the fact that the 100 feet, I believe it would serve the purpose. And I don't think, from what I hear, and will really affect the restaurants that they've been there for a few years, or 10 years, or 15 years. To me, it's an enhancement that provide service for the city. And then again, those people could have a building in time, a mortar to put a restaurant. So to me, I think it's an encouragement. That's why we're here for. We cannot just looking at the fact just say in my district, because one businessman complain about it. That's not my job to. The way I look at it, we got to look for the welfare of the entirety of the community. To me, that's decision making, and again, we all got our opinions, whether you're in favor or against it, but then again, at this time, I would like to asking for an emotion for the 100 feet.
I think Mr. Chair, we're not looking for motions. That's going to go on the consent agenda. We're just having discussion.
Yeah, okay. So anything else then? If any more, do you guys want to talk about it? That's any other older persons from the License and Health? Willing?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Alderwoman Grisham again, we're at 6:29 right now, and we still have quite a bit on the agenda. Is it okay that we move forward?
Sure. It's up to you, the members, whatever you guys, so if you want to just disregard and just go forward with something else, let's do it.
Okay, with that being said, I think we're at item number 50.
Yes, okay. Police Department report regarding the tavern violation call for service for the month of October. I just move it to place on file. A motion, we need an emotion on that.
I don't think we need to make a motion.
Well, we can place it on file, I believe.
Mr. Chair, that will be the effective motion at the council meeting for
Okay,
items
okay,
50
all right.
and 51. So you might want to move on to 49.
Okay, license applications.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
you skipped over 51. I heard Rebecca Grill say 51 as well, but there were 2 on there that I would like to call in and see. Is
I do.
now the time?
yeah, 51.
Yes, for the November police reports. I certainly would like to see Uncle Fester's and TNT before us at the next meeting.
Yeah, I believe that's what we would like to have them come in again, right?
Correct. I just want to make note that they come in for our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Do you mean Uncle, the drunk uncle, as opposed to Uncle Fester's?
No, I meant Uncle Fester's with the gun incident.
Okay.
Yes, the one on Mitchell Street, right? Mr. Sherwin, is that one on Mitchell, 57?
I believe it's 57th and Mitchell or Burnham. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, Mitchell, that's Mitchell, I believe it is.
I can review that and work with the clerk's office, just for the sake of time to have those applicants called in.
Thank you, Nick.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Alderwoman Grisham here. I too have a concern. It appears that there were 4 visits to Stallywood. I would like to see them come before council, but I'm not sure the protocol here. I see Chief Mitchell is on here and Attorney Serwin or Kale, if you could direct me. Is this something we can discuss, or that would have to be done at the time they're called in?
I believe at that time when we call them in, I don't think we can.
Okay, well, Stallywood has had 4 police calls in the month of November. So it looks like it's almost 1 a week
Yeah, that's,
where our police officers are going out there. So I think there's a problem we need to discuss.
okay, so then I can people on the agenda for the next regular license and health committee meetings. So now we have, we did take care, I believe, 52 already.
Correct,
And-
we're at license applications, item 49.
49, yes.
And Mr. Chair, if you don't mind,
Right.
we have quite a list. So I was gonna call out the ones that I think we would need to
We should
discuss,
call them in.
if that's okay.
Sure.
And this would be for discussion before we vote, before we look at denial. So I'm gonna point out the lesser of 2, because a lot of them are approvals. So Samara Beans would be a soft denial. Adrian Cantu, Andrew Conkle,
Yes,
William Mitter. And that's it. The rest for approval.
so any questions from the committee members about the approval? And I believe there's 2 denial, right?
There's 4 denials, soft denials.
4 denial, yes. So any questions from the committee members?
I would also like to add, Mr. Chair, I'd also like to add Heather Bosnick as somebody we would bring in.
Which one is that?
Heather.
Heather, you
Mr.
wanna-
Chair, the second person under the bartender applications.
Yeah, we can bring her in. I
And-
think,
I needed a clarification, Mr. Chair.
yes,
Alderperson Grisham mentioned Andrew Conkle. Was that under? I'm just trying to find him on my agenda.
Conkle is under Richard Garcia, new.
Cantu. Adrian Cantu.
Right, but then I thought there was a Andrew Conkle. I have a Amanda.
There is,
Lopez.
he's below, he's 3rd on the 2nd page here. So Adrian Cantu, Richard Garcia, and then Andrew Conkle.
I'm not seeing him on the agenda I have.
There.
I don't have him on my agenda either.
Okay, well then this may have been an error. This was printed for me. Anne Marie printed all of this information.
because I don't have that either in my. that's what-
Those people are on the record that we got, which is the second page you were talking about, Suzette.
Okay,
So,
Chairman Vitale,
yes, Alderman Rose.
and I, maybe we could, maybe Nick knows, and I don't see Ed Lisinski on here. For I believe it's been a long time. I'm guessing it's been 3 or 4 years. Shooter Shop, we still don't have a occupancy permit or something telling us that their gun range is safe to use.
Their gun range is not being used and it's not set up for a gun range.
Just speak to that older person.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The new building is not. Sorry about that.
Go ahead,
My understanding is that building inspections got out of that process because they don't have anybody trained to do so. The police department was basically certified when it was built, and there's not an individual that would also be certifying that. We'd have to go through some outside agency to seek those policies or procedures. I'm not aware of those. I can continue to look into that though.
All right, thank you. So Alderperson Trisham, you mentioned some of the, some of the applications for the operator license, but I don't see really some of those names, on my
Right,
side.
and I'm looking at two different sheets here that was printed, so let me back up and I will go item by item. So David Burns, approve. Heather Bosnack, Alderwoman Ranky wants to bring in, so soft denial on that. Adrian Cantu, soft denial. Richard Garcia, approve. Amanda Lopez, approve. William Mitter, soft denial. Brittany Novak, approve.
Okay, so then,
And we have two more to take a look at. Let me flip my page here where I wrote it. We have Stark for approval and Strickler for approval as well.
I believe you missed Sarah Osmond.
yes, we got whatever, Osmond Sarah. She got any records?
She only has a 2010 paraphernalia ticket.
Approval.
So the only names for soft denial will be Beans, Cantu, Mitter, and Bosnack, correct?
Correct.
Right.
So those are for denial, right?
Correct.
Yes.
And my apologies for any confusion.
Well, that's okay. I mean, we're used to that, I'm just kidding. So I need approval of for the applications of denial of the
No motion. My understanding is these are just consent agenda items, and so those will have to be pulled out and on the actual common council agenda.
So I have to be pulled out and vote on the floor then.
Correct.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
essentially, it would be voting on them separately and you would be doing an amendment to remove those applicants from
Okay.
granting. So
Okay.
at this time, you could probably adjourn the committee. I don't know if there's anything else.
So is anything else from the committee members to address?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. So now we can go on and wait